They're just doing what they can to survive.
They just got to get the reboot off, but it's basically just a huge audio cue to all teams in the surrounding areas. Fortnite will rejoin Pablo and Chino, and when you factor in that Chino did find damage, it's not as much as they would obviously want, but this will at least give them the opportunity to farm up a bit and then try to see if they can establish their dominance elsewhere on the map.
6 points is what separates Pablo, Chino, and Fortnite from Vanya, Pixie, and Marius. Vanya, Pixie, Marius had a cleaner start without getting knocked off the start. It's a full Danish trio. I mean, Denmark has made 243 FNCS finals, but they are yet to take home a championship. Veno, Vico, Flixie, or should I say just Veno and Vico, are in third place still, but it's going to be tough to take home the second or first.
For comfort, if you're one of our two leading teams, you've got a little bit more of a point gap between second and third, but third through seventh, all of that is within striking range of each other. And there's definitely some prize pool differences involved. When you are Vico, Veno, and Flixie, though, you know that you've got your guaranteed seat for the Global Championship. You did that in Major 1 finals, but they obviously still want to be as high up on that leaderboard as possible.
Qualified to the Global Championship. They just want to make their way on in, right? Being so close right now. You have to put on a performance in this match. I'm trying to think even if it's possible for... No, I don't think Malibuga can get booked out of the top 7, so it will still be that to qualify, but it is incredibly close in that top 10 in general. A lot of big names still not in qualifying range for the Global Championship, but although Pablo, Fortnite, and Chino had a bit of a hiccup to start this one off.
Pablo, Chino, and Fortnite, the biggest issue is they lost control of Mass Meadows after taking that early spill. So they're going to have to try and fight their way back into that POI. Other teams taking full advantage, though, of what's been left over, what was never gathered in the first place, since they didn't have the time to do so because of Reason's team. Merstache, Queasy, and Swizzy, though, coming out of Seaport, can never count these guys out either. They are nestled into that 5th place spot, heading into this final lobby Takata, but they could still come up with a crazy game in the final hour.
I mean, in last major, they didn't qualify to the Global Championship by 2 spots. They were just 2 spots away, right under Vanya, Marius, and Pixie to qualify to the Global Championship. Although they were looking like favorites, ended up getting contested, and now uncontested. They're in qualifying range, but you know, they're looking close to that borderline, so they still have to have quite a performance. I mean, if you're Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, you're in first place here, but you want to get that Blade of Champions. You want to win that FNCS. Vanya has already claimed a few, but Pixie and Marius, they have yet to win one.
See, Vanya knows what kind of nerves start to factor in when you are this close to winning. So easy to just start feeling that little bit of hesitation. You second guess every single one of your moves. And so this is where Vanya can really step up to the plate, really be a huge leader and control the nerves of his trio, because Fortnite, Chino, Pablo, they're also experiencing probably a similar sensation. This is something that would just really change the narrative surrounding all 3 of these players.
So it's worse for Fortnite, Pablo, and Chino, because they're kind of, like you said, playing a little different of an early game because they don't have control of Mass Meadows, and now forced to kind of round looking for those eliminations in these previous games. It's how they were getting a lot of the surge, but now kind of all eyes are on them. These opponents know where they are. They don't have as many options to sneak up on them again, and it's making it a lot more difficult for them in this last match.
But they're drawing that other team so far southwest, likely because if they are going to have to fight, if you are going to have a team pursuing you for that long, you want to make sure it's as isolated as possible so you don't risk the third-party endeavor. Definitely seemed to be the intent for Proxy's team, but for sure an uphill battle that they're still trying to scale. Hari, Seti, Cammy inside of brutal boxcars, looking for their surge damage wherever applicable. This is still a 180 performance in comparison to how Major 1 Finals ended up for this trio. They're here to remind all of you that they are still top dogs of the region.
It's good to see them. It's good to see them in that top 7 in qualifying range, like you mentioned. Their Major Finals performances haven't been looking too hot recently. But you know, they got uncontested, and now once again, they're part of those top teams. What I'm seeing here, it was Vanya, Marius, and Pixie, and the players that were potentially looking like aggressors was Vico and Veno, so that is not a team you kind of want to fight against. For Doxy, Pablo, and Chino now, though, kind of just getting bullied from above. Their truck's about to explode. They're forced to take low elevation, and now just 2 builds is all that Pablo has. They are quite literally playing this match in shambles.
They have to take this fight now with Chap, but Chap, he might have been a little bit overzealous here. Jumps right into the trap that Proxy's team had set for him. He's so incredibly low on HP. Pablo needs to find the closing shot. Spi has now rolled into the location. Canyon crossing, heating up in the span of seconds here. But Pablo, he's got no builds. He just has to find the eliminations. He needs the siphon materials, whatever they can find in these final moments. They don't want it to be their last. The nerves have got to be at an all-time high here at Takata. But Pablo, Fredoxy, Chino, they're still holding it.
You saw on the minimap, a full other trio is coming in for the third party, and they knocked down Fredoxy. This is the worst outcome from this fight. They did the damage, but they weren't able to close it out. Fredoxy's been fully eliminated. Pablo, Chino now left as a duo. The good news is it looks like those third-party players have disengaged. They're happy with that one elimination. And now Pablo and Chino have to decide. They don't really have materials to run away. They have to play it slow. They already lost one of their teammates, but they know they did a good amount of damage. They're most likely just going to continue in shambles here.
Pablo will manage to pick up some leftover body loot. Those mats go a long way for him right now. But they definitely do not want to overexpose themselves. They're willing to wait it out. He has 2 med miss grenades. They can definitely tank a little bit of storm. All they need is for these 2 other teams to leave the area, and then they can begin trying to recoup what they've lost. It's certainly a big blow. It's got to be something that Vanya, Medius, and Pixie are keeping eyes out for in that elimination feed. But Chino and Pablo, they just have to focus on their own game. They don't have time to think about anything else. And Yanis is going to be the one who actually takes out Fredoxy. Strokey still trying to completely cut off Pablo and Chino from leaving.
You know, Vanya's crew was licking their lips when they saw on the elim feed that Fredoxy went down.
Have to be.
But the good news is, hey, Pablo, Chino are still up. They're not in a good situation at all, but hey, they're on their feet, so still possible. They're in the zone too. It's not pulling incredibly far, but it's definitely gonna have to be a turnaround if they want to get a big game from this. Meanwhile, we look at Vanya, Pixie, and Marius, and they are just going with the flow, same as the previous matches.
But they're alive and well. They're not just alive, like what we saw from Pablo. And even with Canyon Crossing having cleared out a little bit, you still have to invest so much time just refarming mats, refarming heals. Pixie, Vanya, and Marius, on the other hand, though, max material, optimal loadouts, for the most part, to carry them through these mid-game rotates, and wasting no time whatsoever at Foxy Floodgate. They're taking over. A little bit of elevation on the mountain range. Got Cammy in their sights, but not fully committing one way or the other. They're gonna sit around and wait, see who actually comes their way.
Thomas HD, from not qualifying for the finals to now being in that contention, the fight for top 7 and a spot at the Global Championship. Currently being in 9th place, so they are not in qualifying range, meaning they need a solid match here. And kind of got to hope that the trios above them don't perform too well.
This is just so big, though, for Panzer and Uppel especially, because Panzer and Uppel took big risks. They left their former trios that had done decently in the last major to take a chance on each other and Thomas and see, is this going to be a winning trio? Are we going to be the Blade of Champions caliber that individually everyone would look at them and say, yeah, they've got the potential, but to find themselves just outside of that Global Championship qualifying range even, it would be devastating if they can't outperform where they were last season.
And I love seeing Demas, Pix, and Darm here picking up eliminations. I mean, yesterday, they only made top 15 in 2 out of the 6 matches. And Malabuka was in day 1. They've made top 6 every single game today. I mean, talk about a comeback. They weren't even very close to qualifying range of the Global Championship, and now they're sat comfortably in 6th place. So all they have to do is have a decent performance here, and they can go from qualifying to their first ever major finals in Major 1 to now in Major 2 qualifying themselves for the Global Championship.
Triple Fingo for Vico and Veno still without Flixie. They're not looking for the iDrops team, but it's iDrop who's really got to be careful here. Scroll just falling a little bit too low. Vico trying to see if he can close things out, but oh wait, just a couple moments longer. Vico and Veno have yet to find their first elimination in comparison to the Danes carrying 8 of them. But Sky, man, the moment that he fixates, he just has to worry about the team approaching from behind, and it's Malabuka's team of all trios that they're now trying to contend with. And what looked like a promising collapse has now completely been turned on their heads. Malabuka's trio, they are out for iDrop's team here, and they've already got iDrop. Just waiting to see if they can get the other 2. Probably aware of the fact that the double revive's going off. They're just looking for a pre-edit play onto Veno, and Malabuka opening the doorway. Veno gonna be eliminated. You just know that Malabuka's gotta be cheesing right now. And it's only Vico left standing. Sky and Scroll, they are going to opt to go the other direction. And Malabuka more than happy to just keep trying to hunt out where Vico's located.
Gotta be a smile on their face. The trio that turned their tournament upside down, now eliminating them in the last